Who remembers me from last time? Just raise your hand. Just a show of hands. Okay, about 10 of you. Okay. So I am thrilled and honored to be here today at Hobart and William Smith Colleges to speak for the second time in less than 3 months. Some of you might have heard me speak last time and told you that 8 of my family members are graduates of the college. My parents, my grandparents, 3 aunts and an uncle. Needless to say that they all get a bit jealous every time I come here to speak. Secretly, however, we are all hoping that my sister comes here in the class of 2024. However, the biggest problem was, or is, that she does not like the cold. Unlike me, who loves it. Many of you remember last time, as I mentioned, I was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum at 3.5 years old. The diagnosis was good for me in the sense that it enabled my parents to get me many services through our school district, Plainview Old Bethpage on Long Island. These included special ed preschool and special education classes, as I mentioned last time, when I was in elementary school through my high school years. I also received ABA therapy, speech therapy, behavioral therapy, occupational and physical therapies. I mentioned that last time. It might sound like a lot, and it was, but today I am standing here as proof that early intervention really can make a huge impact on a child's life. Let's discuss specifically when I was in my high school years. There was a little bit of a concern. My parents faced a new challenge concerning me. What will I do next? It was very stressful. The guidance offices do not know of many options for students like me that fall in the gray area. What I mean by this is, although I was graduating on time with my peers, we all knew that traditional college would not be an option for me. Although I'm able to talk to you now like I am right now and have a conversation, sometimes language, especially books, can be challenging for me to understand, making academics very difficult, although I can get better at it. Yet I needed more than being in a day program or working locally. I also knew I wanted to move away from home. Right? The combination of these needs, wants, and going somewhere that would ensure some kind of future for me was almost impossible to find. We looked at one program that was on Long Island that seemed to offer what I needed. But neither of my parents or I liked it. It was housed on a deserted campus, unlike this campus, with the exception of one building that was being used, and it did not seem to encourage independence. When my parents asked the admissions coordinator about social activities for the students, his only reply was, they can go shopping, basically to a Target across the street. Well, both my parents and I knew that it wasn't for me. Now I am so thankful that my dad used that horrible visit as motivation to find something appropriate. He had remembered reading about a program in Albany, also known as his hometown. I may have mentioned it last time. And searched the internet until he came across the college experience program, not at Hobart and William Smith Colleges, but at the College of St. Rose. Feeling hopeful and excited, we went up to visit the very next day. Colleen, the admissions director, toured us around, and lucky for us, I met Jesse on the tour as well. My dad had made the Hobart connection and reached out to him even before we came across the college experience. In fact, it was featured in the alumni magazine. We all loved the program. It seemed to have what I needed. Living on a college campus like my typical peers, but learning life and independent skills at the same time. I started the application process immediately. In August of 2016, I moved in, ready to start my first year. Many of you may know that transitions can be difficult for anyone. But for those of us on the spectrum, change can be extremely difficult. My family helps me prepare for change by giving me as much information as possible. So there are a few surprises when it comes into these kinds of things. But as we all know in life, things don't always go as planned. And I was trying to prepare myself for that now that I was moving away from home, and I'll mention about that later, and wouldn't have my family with me telling me what to expect all of the time. When I moved into the college experience in August of 2016, the house was a new house for the program. It used to be a bed and breakfast, actually, so it was a big house. I had a nice big room. As a matter of fact, my own bathroom. I shared the house with 7 other students, which was nice, but also had its challenges. Why? When you put people together, many for the first time, living away from home, there are many new skills that need to be learned. We had to share one kitchen. We each had a shelf in the refrigerator and a shelf in the pantry. Luckily, they soon added a second refrigerator in the basement at the time of the closing, when it became clear one was too small. Part of the program was to menu plan and cook meals together 2 days a week. Because there were so many of us, we were divided into 2 groups. I had to learn to compromise by sometimes eating food I was not have otherwise eaten. That was a challenge for me, since at the time I tended to eat the same things over and over again, but it was a good start to learn how to compromise. That first year we also had to learn the transportation system around Albany in an effort to foster independence. This was not a problem for me, as I had been constantly studying Google Maps since I was young. As a matter of fact, Jesse, my bar mitzvah theme when I was 13 was David's GPS. So, in 3 months, I passed all the bus tests very quickly, and that was one way I gained confidence and independence traveling around Albany and being able to get to places like the mall by myself. As a matter of fact, that was the only way until June of 2017 when Uber came to Albany, so I was grateful for that. We were also required to join clubs on campuses as a way of meeting and spending time with the St. Rose students. The first year I joined some sort of hiking club, although we didn't meet that often. I don't know why. But during my senior year, I joined an improv group, perform without a script, in which I liked a lot. I also worked out in their fitness center as well. Our classes in the college experience program at St. Rose included budgeting, history, and different independent living classes, as well as classes on socialization, relationships, etc., etc. The second year, I was hoping to be in the same house and room, but I moved to a different apartment. As I mentioned, change is good. The apartment was very nice, but unfortunately, I did not get along with my 2 roommates very well. I will not mention names. This was very challenging for me, and there were many times that I had to bring my concerns to the staff. I was very frustrated, and I tried to talk to my roommate about my issues, but that did not help, unfortunately. The staff would try to give us tools and advice to work through the situation. However, it did not help much, but I did learn what the lesson is, how to be more patient and feel confident to speak my mind when I was unhappy about something. It was also during the second year that we began internships. In discussing with the staff about what kinds of things I would like to do, I knew I wanted to do something with people and not be in an office. This was at the time. I like to talk a lot. We thought hospitality would be a good option, so my internship was at the Albany Marriott Hotel as a bellman. I really liked this job as I got to help with another bellman pick up people at the airport, my love of transportation, and also help people, give people directions somewhere if they needed, my love of geography, and help around the hotel as well. I kept with that internship all year and now still work there 1 day a week. That's one of my jobs. I mentioned that last time. After graduation, I knew I wanted to stay in Albany. I love being able to get around the city, and it's also close enough to my happy place, Mount Snow, Vermont, where I'm an avid skier, as I mentioned last time. I'm lucky to have one of my friends that also graduated from the program was staying as well, and we moved into a really nice house together. Here comes some bad news, unfortunately. I just found out a few days ago that the landlord is not renewing our lease because he needs to move back into the house. The good news is that even though I'm very disappointed, because we enjoyed that house very well, with all the skills I have been learning over the past couple of years, I realize that I will handle the change well, and we will find a new place to live. After initially working at the Marriott full-time, the hours were very difficult for me. I had to take 2 buses, and the bus times often did not coordinate with the times my shift ended, which were very different each day. I decided, and it was my decision, to leave the job, but was able to keep working there 1 day a week, which I am grateful for. I mentioned last time that I was lucky in October to be hired by Living Resources, which is the non-for-profit agency that runs the College Experience program. I am working in the College Experience, and I am the first alumnus to work in the program, as I mentioned last time. I am helping the staff and working with the students a bit, and I am proud that I have this job. Right now it is a part-time, but I am advocating for myself for the position to become full-time. That is one of the biggest lessons I've learned through my experience with CEP at St. Rose. Whether you have a disability or not, it is important to advocate for yourself. But too many people assume someone with a disability is often unable to work or be successful, when in reality, we are all very, and I'll write this, able people when given a chance and the right opportunity. Thank you, Professor Kelly, Jesse Saperstein, special guest Ruth Benedict, for inviting me here today, and to Jesse for bringing me and being a great mentor. Take it away.